Some of the brightest smiles can hide the heaviest hearts. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? That someone can light up a room and still feel consumed by darkness when they're alone. This brings up a puzzling question. What is smiling depression? Is it a genuine psychological phenomenon, or is it a term people use to romanticize sadness? First things first, smiling depression is not a clinical diagnosis you'll find in a medical textbook. Instead, it's a term used to describe people who experience depression while successfully masking their symptoms from others. People with smiling depression are masters of disguise. They can go to work, hang out with friends, and go through the motions of a happy life, all while battling a storm of negative emotions internally. In the world of psychology, this experience often aligns with major depressive disorder with atypical features. The atypical part is key, because the person's mood can temporarily lift in response to positive events, which makes the depression even harder to spot. While the term might be relatively new to many, the experience is not. Throughout history, people have felt the pressure to put on a brave face or keep a stiff upper lip, especially when struggling with their mental health. The biggest danger of smiling depression is that it often goes unnoticed. Those who are suffering may not get the support they need because, on the surface, everything seems fine. Think of the perfect student or the high-flying colleague who never misses a deadline. They might be praised for their resilience, but that resilience could be a mask for deep-seated feelings of worthlessness and exhaustion. I can't let them down. I have to be strong. If they knew how I really felt, they'd think I was a fraud. This is the internal monologue for many who experience smiling depression. Another common example is the social butterfly, who is always surrounded by people. Their constant need for social interaction might not just be extroversion, it could be a way to escape the deafening silence of their own thoughts. Social media can be a breeding ground for smiling depression. The pressure to present a perfect, happy life can be immense, making it even harder for people to be honest about their struggles. In a world where good vibes only is a common mantra, there's little room for difficult emotions. This cultural pressure can make people feel like their sadness is a personal failure, something to be hidden at all costs. One of the most painful experiences for someone with smiling depression is having their feelings dismissed. When you finally gather the courage to speak up, being told, "You don't seem depressed," can be incredibly invalidating. Here's a chilling fact. Individuals with smiling depression may be at a higher risk for suicide. Unlike those with more severe, debilitating depression, they may have the energy and focus to plan and act on suicidal thoughts. So, why do people wear the mask of smiling depression? The reasons are complex and deeply personal, but there are some common threads. From a young age, many are taught that being happy is the ultimate goal. This can create a culture where sadness is seen as a weakness or a problem to be solved, rather than a valid human emotion. The stigma surrounding mental illness is still a powerful force. People may fear being judged, losing their job, or being treated differently if they reveal their struggles. Perfectionism and smiling depression often go hand in hand. The need to be perfect can make it feel impossible to admit to having imperfect feelings like sadness or hopelessness. Many people with smiling depression don't want to burden their loved ones with their problems. They might think, everyone else has their own stuff to deal with. I don't want to add to it. Cultural norms around gender can also play a role. Men are often socialized to suppress their emotions, while women are expected to be perpetually cheerful and accommodating. The term high-functioning depression is also used to describe this experience. Because the person is still able to function in their daily life, they and others may not recognize the severity of their internal struggle. Ironically, the mask that is meant to protect them can also be a prison. It creates a sense of isolation, a feeling that no one truly knows the real them. Sometimes, the harshest judgment comes from within. People with smiling depression may internalize the stigma and believe that they are weak or flawed for feeling the way they do. All of these factors can create a vicious cycle. The more they hide their feelings, the more isolated they feel, and the more their depression can deepen. In the workplace, smiling depression can look like the most dedicated employee. They might take on extra work to distract themselves, and their colleagues may have no idea they are struggling. In relationships, a person with smiling depression might avoid deep, emotional conversations for fear of being a burden. This can create distance and prevent true intimacy. For parents, there can be immense pressure to be a perfect role model. Admitting to struggling with their mental health can feel like a failure, so they hide their pain for the sake of their children. So what are the signs to look for? They can be subtle. A change in sleep patterns, a loss of interest in hobbies, increased irritability, or a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. If you think someone you know might be struggling, the most important thing you can do is create a safe space for them to talk without judgment. Ask, "How are you really?" and be prepared to listen to the answer. Avoid offering simplistic advice or platitudes. Phrases like "just cheer up" can feel dismissive and further isolate the person who is struggling. If someone with smiling depression pushes you away, try not to take it personally. Gentle, consistent support can show them that you care and that you're not going anywhere. Imagine carrying a heavy, invisible weight on your shoulders every single day. You learn to walk with it, to balance it, to move through the world as if it's not there. You even learn to smile with it. Smiling depression is a performance, a daily, exhausting performance where you are both the actor and the audience. And the most heartbreaking part, the applause you receive is for a version of yourself that you don't even recognize. But even the most well-constructed mask can crack. In moments of solitude, the weight becomes unbearable, and the smile gives way to the silent scream of a soul that is aching to be seen. But in those cracks, there is also hope. Hope that someone will see past the smile and notice the struggle. Hope that you will find the courage to let the mask fall and ask for help. If this video resonated with you, please know that you are not alone. Your feelings are valid, even if you've been hiding them from the world. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have days when you can't carry the weight of the world with a smile. It's okay to be human. Talking to a trusted friend, family member, or mental health professional can be a powerful first step. You don't have to go through this alone.